Alright my friends, how you all doing? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a fresh episode of our community zoo build, Jamii Conservation Park. It's so nice to be able to introduce the series with its proper name now, ladies and gents, after you voted for that last episode. You're going to see the link to the last episode above right now, my friends, if you've not yet seen it. Obviously, do not vote on any of the polls because we have all of the results already and we're going to be going through those ever so shortly, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to notice that the game is actually paused. There's two reasons for that. One, I need it paused so I can see the date because of the result of one of the polls, and secondly, we're essentially doing a little bit of sort of building and modification work. All will make sense when we get into it. Now, in today's episode, I'm going to be going over a few things that there might be some misunderstanding, especially like based on some of the comments that I got from last episode, and also I'm going to go over a couple of lists of things that you might need to think about that you wouldn't see every day when I'm making these episodes. And a few little pointers for you guys to maybe try and abide by during the course of the series. I just think it will really help you as the series goes on. We didn't have as many comments for last episode, but we did have a lot more sort of activity and a lot more engagement where the polls are concerned. Now, the big poll that we need to reveal, ladies and gents, is the one that I ask every single episode, and it was the poll for should we move forward 10 years. Now, you're going to see it on your screen now. 73% of you voted yes. You want us to move forward 10 years. So we are going to be doing that in today's episode. So that basically means, ladies and gents, that we get to unlock a brand new part of the conservation park, and we are going to be expanding today. Now, I've tallied up all of your votes for which square you would like me to unlock for today's episode. I basically took some of the comments from the episode before last as well as last episode, but in last episode a lot of people asked for this square, and it was square 6. 2 people asked for square 1, 1 asked for square 3, 1 asked for square 7, but 5 of you asked for square 6 to be the next part of the conservation park that we unlock and expand to. And I actually think that it makes perfect sense to expand to that square, and a lot of you have thought this through very well. So what we're going to do, ladies and gents, is we're actually going to unlock that square as we speak. So we will be gifted this square here, ladies and gents. It's this little beauty here, and it's off the back of basically the of the reptile centre and where the gharials are. And when I start reading the comments, it will make sense to you why this was such a perfect area for us to unlock, ladies and gents. It really will, because beautiful stuff. We have now got our brand new area, ladies and gents. Lovely job. And we're going to be talking a lot about that in today's episode, basically. So we are just going to come out of that, and you will see that the date, ladies and gents, is the 13th of December, year 3. So we need to get that to the 13th of December, year 13. So I guess, really, I should press that play button and let it start cracking on. Now, I'm not going to speed it up just yet because I've got to go through the result of the other 2 polls that I put forward to you guys before we move on into the feedback and comment section of today's episode. So the poll result 2 was for the pick a family name, and you had 3 options, and you have voted, ladies and gents. You're going to see it on your screen, and 59% of you wanted to go with the name of Makaza. I'm not really surprised actually that won, because there was a bit of a backstory with it, wasn't there? Other people were really getting involved, letting you know sort of like their thoughts on the names and stuff. But I believe I might have already gone ahead and changed those names. Yes, I have. Dylan and Mary Ellen Makaza are the 2 that started this wonderful facility, and as you can see, they're hard at work, ladies and gents. But obviously I just kind of jumped in and I did that just to save us a little bit of time in today's episode. And then you're going to see the last result popping up on your screen right now. It was for our poll result 3, and that was what croc was in the sewer. It was that slightly far-fetched story that was sent in to me, and it was basically that someone had found a crocodile in a sewer. Should we take it in or reject it? And we decided to rescue it, and as you can see, 72% of you wanted to see the saltwater crocodile, ladies and gents, and make its way into the Jamii Conservation Park. And I guess now that we've got this lovely expanse of land over here, we have just the plot of land to do it. So we're going to go through your feedbacks and comments now though, and see what other stuff you guys would like me to do in today's episode. So let's get to it. Okay, my friends, so here we are, feedback and comments time, and as you're going to see, I have sped the game up, and now I'm pretty sure that this isn't going to do the 10 years just while I do the comments section of today's episode. I'll probably have to put a little cut in there at the end, but yeah, we are speeding through because we can't basically touch the zoo now for 10 years. We just have to let it do its magic and see what happens. So I'm sure there's going to be a load of problems that arise. I'm sure there's going to be a load of little things that are popping off, but you know, we will get to it when the time is right. So let's get to your feedback and comments, ladies and gents. So we're going to start with a comment from Anthony Cooper this week, and they said we should purchase Square 6 and you should put the saltwater croc over there and make a nice exhibit. Also, we need to add seating in the restaurant and fix it up. Love these videos. Now, as I've already mentioned, ladies and gents, we do have the perfect space now for a saltwater croc. It's not going to be able to take up all this space. We do need to put pathing through. We do need to expand the gharials because that was something that was heavily asked for in last episode, but we just run out of money. So yeah, there's a lot of work we need to do with this space, but we definitely will try to fit that saltwater crocodile in here. A facility has broken down. That's never good to see, is it? What else? What other comments do we have, ladies and gents? We have one coming from Bryn Jones, who is a avid commenter on the series and has really given us some great feedback. And Bryn has said, firstly, great video. It's fab to see the zoo starting off and making a healthy amount of money. Some suggestions: maybe think of adding in some more donation boxes close to the exhibit animals to get even more money. That's a really fantastic idea, actually. Also, with Toby and the inaccessible side to his habitat, you could swap one of the wall pieces for a frame piece and add rocks to create a bridge at the bottom so Toby could use it as a second entrance / exit. Keepers could use it to get to the other side of the habitat. Yeah, I think I sort of know what you mean, but news on Toby's habitat. Somehow the zookeepers are actually managing to get it clean. I'm not sure how, because they're not going in there, but they're managing to get it clean. So at the moment, I don't really see a need to edit his habitat, but it might be something to think about down the line. I don't really want to make changes to stuff unless we really need to, but that is a really good idea where that's concerned. And Bryn also added that if we move on 10 years, I vote Square 6, go down the natural path forming between the toilets and the gharials. As an added note, it might not be possible next, but there needs to be an education / learning centre close to the front as part of the original area. Keep it up. I have basically made a note and put that on my Planet Zoo ideas list. So basically, I'm going to talk about this a bit more in today's episode, but because so many of you had so many fantastic ideas and I can't do them all at once, it has to be kind of like a first come first serve basis that I have to do this. So what I am doing is making lists of stuff so that I always come back to the things that you suggest, and so that we try to do it in the order that you ask for things to be done, and so that it can be as fair as possible, basically. So yeah, I'll get to it a bit more because there's actually a big comment from someone where they asked for a few things, but obviously I need to take other people's things into consideration as well. But that's some great comments, some great feedback there from you, Bryn. Louis has got back in touch. I just want to throw a massive apology out to Louis. I called him Louise last episode. I don't know what I was thinking, and I didn't notice it until I was in the edit. But Louis has got in contact once again, and he has voted saying, I voted yes on the should we move forward 10 years. I would go for Square 6 because you can easily make a pathway between the gharial enclosure and the toilets. It just was such a popular choice because it seemed like a natural path, to take the conservation park. People really like that, the fact that it was very easy to get in there. So obviously you can see Square 6 has been unlocked, Louis, so thank you for voting, my friend. Primal Gamer has got in touch with another comment this week. I'm pretty sure Primal Gamer is one of the people that's voted every single week and commented every week. But they've come in with a comment saying, if this suit is older and a conservation park in like the 80s, which is quite interesting that you're creating more narrative to that story that Jed and Nata, made in episode 1. There were a lot of wolf breeding programs in North America and Europe due to overhunting. If we skip forward 10 years, I think a timber wolf habitat would really fit this park. Also, I think it would fit in Square 6. It's a really fantastic and intriguing idea. I will say that, Primal Gamer. Now, what I'm going to say to you is it's been added to the list of things to do because the gharial expansion and a saltwater croc, habitat were ahead of what you've said, basically, that are asked for first. And because of that plotting up, period that we've had, I kind of have to go first come first serve, but it's been added to the list, and I really like that idea because it's the first animal outside of like the reptiles that someone has considered, you know, potentially putting in the zoo to this point. So yeah, I really like that, and I quite like the narrative of like, you know, maybe this was a bit older, you know, it started out in the 80s and has, you know, gradually grown into the phenomenon that it is today. Next up, we've got a comment from Nathan Eath, and he has said there seems to be some lines forming at some of the vendors. We should consider raising prices up a tad, maybe $1 max, since demand appears high. That is actually a very interesting comment. And one I really like as well, because what that shows me, Nathan, is that you've paid attention when I've been showing you the conservation park, you know, at the end. You've noticed that there are lines, you've noticed that potentially we could make a bit more money. So what we will do is when we get to the staff and animal section, which is essentially the live section of today's episode, we will do it then. It was on my list of things to do in today's episode. Next up, we've got one from Liam Horworth. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Liam. And he has said, train the staff is my feedback. Short and sweet, but a comment that I absolutely love because you're thinking about the bigger picture. You're thinking about the long term. And obviously, the better your staff are, you know, the more efficient the conservation park can be. So I absolutely love that comment. We now move on to a couple of comments that are a lot bigger, and are we going to have to go into a bit more. Now, Night Clive has got in contact again. He left two really good comments, in my opinion. I've split them into two parts. We're going to do part one now, and part two straight after. So, ladies and gents, let's get into it, shall we? First up, Nightclub says, hi. First, I have to excuse myself. I misspelled the death adder as D-O. Now that makes perfect sense. I really thanks for getting in touch. It would have been another snake and suited the gears, thanks, but I like it even more the way it is now. So what I will do, though, is add the death adder to the list of animals, though, my friend. Obviously, all the exhibits are taken up, but you know, should we move the frogs at a later date like we said we are potentially going to, there will be then space for the death adder. So I will put that to the list of animals that you would like to see, though, so it won't get forgotten. I also suggested the hiding caves for the tortoises, but I agree that hiding spots in general are enough. I just don't see a hiding spot for old Toby. But as long as the animals are happy, I'm happy too. I guess I could have a look at Toby's exhibit and see if we can make a few changes to maybe help him out a little bit where that's concerned. That I actually totally agree with what you've said there. He doesn't really have any proper hiding spots. Now, we all need to ask ourselves and you some essential questions. Which difficulty are we playing on? Since the last update, there are 3 difficulty levels. The hardest one could easily drive us rank up for it. Grants full refund to unhappy guests. Now, I didn't actually know this was a thing, Night Clive. I think I even said that to you when I replied in the comment. But we're actually playing on medium. I think easy would have just, you know, been, you know, as it says on the tin, way too easy. And then you kind of put me off of playing on hard mode. So I've left it on medium and we'll just see how it goes. If we think that we're going to be finding this a little too easy, you know, as time goes by, then we will up the ante. But for now, it is on medium. I think it's quite a nice place for us to sit. How are you/we handling research? It will get essential sooner or later. Now, where research is concerned, I think we're just going to have to ignore it. Obviously, I've set this up in Sandbox mode because we needed a lot of money at the beginning. So I've basically, this is almost like a custom scenario I've used Sandbox to make. So we are ignoring research. You know, maybe at a later date, if I ever do another community zoo and we use franchise mode, we can do that. But for this project, we're not going to worry about research too much. And what should be the layout concept? I see 3 possible ways. 1, the Geo Zoo. Most modern zoos sort their animals by their biome and continent. 2, the classic zoo. Older zoos sort by species, cat to cat, monkey to monkey. Or 3, we go along and place animals as we please. It would show over its own style but look chaotic, and therefore I hate to see it's unrealistic. I do agree with actually everything you've said there. Now, what I would say, if I can just sort of expand on what you've said, is I would argue that we're actually a mix of 1 and 2 at the moment. Obviously, we're very much species orientated at the moment because we're very much reptiles. But I've tried to be quite clever about the way that I've placed the animals in their exhibits so that they are from similar parts of the world. But yeah, I guess we are a mix of 1 and 2, and I actually quite like the whole mix of 1 and 2. I think that's probably that would make us quite a unique conservation park. So I think that, you know, if you want to take that going forward, we are a healthy mix of 1 and 2. I would ignore 3 entirely because I do agree that that is unrealistic and it won't really work for us. But that's the first part of Nightcloud's comment. Now we're going to get to the second part of Nightcloud's comment. And he has said, here's some more relevant suggestions. 1, the gator in the room. I see that most want to add a saltwater crocodile in the park. As somebody who met salties eye to eye, I would gladly welcome them in the park, but now is not the time. They are expensive in money, space, and every way. Also, it would be bad layout decision to place 2 of the most attractive animals this close together. A male gharial would be much more useful right now. Gharials produce so much offspring that would bring money and conservation points. At the last, the story, finding a salty in a sewer, even in Australia, most unlikely, and if you're not the crocodile hunter, even more unlikely to survive. I will, of course, bow to democratic decision, but I didn't want this to be unsaid. So to the first part, like I've kind of already said, I have to go with majority decision. If I put polls out and people vote for one thing, that's what I'm going to go with. Obviously, this is a community build, so I have to take the community's opinion as a whole. I can't just take 1 or 2 opinions, and I hope you understand that, Nightclub. I'm sure you do, because you've kind of written it in your comment anyway. So the saltwater crocodile will be making its way into the exhibit. As for 2 of the big sort of like key animals being next to each other, yes, I do agree that it wouldn't be the best decision for a overall sort of like zoo to make, but considering that we've started out as, say, like a reptile centre / rescue home, it would be the case. I've taken a look at a lot of sort of like centres that are dedicated to things like crocs, and a lot of the big crocs are kind of next to each other because that's just, they're so limited on space, they have no, you know, other way of doing it, and we're sort of part of that category at the moment. We don't have the most space, so I think it does for us make sense to put the animals together. But it is a really, really interesting point, actually. You've really thought it through. As for the male gharial, when we get to the staff and animals section, we will be sure to take a look and see if there's one to purchase, because I do like that suggestion a lot. And as for the last bit, yes, the story is a little bit far-fetched, but what I would say is maybe kind of expand your way on thinking about it. There's nothing to say that the people that found the croc were the ones that went in and got it. They might have called us, and our keepers went out and were the people that rescued the animal. Yeah, finding a saltwater croc in a sewer would probably be very unlikely, but you know, it's a story that was put forward to me. I like the fact that someone asked me a question and that I could get involved a little bit. So, you know, keep the stories coming. We've got to have a few little things that are far-fetched. We've just got to use our imagination a little bit, I guess. But I take every single thing that you've said there completely, you know, on board. I appreciate every single thing you've said. But just to understand, though, you know, we have to go with majority decision if I offer things up on a poll, and I have to go with sort of like first come, first serve as well. So just understand that. I've kind of already said that in today's episode already. Get to the second point. 2, we should definitely build a playground, but I would make more use somewhere in the middle. We want the toddlers in the park, not the front of it. At the entrance, a piece of art like the glass circle at Highland would do better. For those that don't know what he's on about, I have a nice like sculpture at the front of Highland Zoo. Again, first come, first serve. You know, the playground was asked for in episode 1, so I am going to put the playground in. What I will say, though, is that there's no reason to say that at a later date that playground wouldn't get demolished and the area would evolve into something else. You have to remember, these are just the early days of this conservation park. The reptile centre will probably become nothing but, you know, a small part of the zoo eventually. At the moment, this is the zoo. But when we get bigger, you know, if we were to build like a bigger proper entrance for the facility, you know, you got to remember we've got a little wooden throw that people go in and out, which is our entrance. Our ticket office is very, very small, so you have to understand that things are going to change over time, and they could evolve. But the playground is going to go in because it was asked for first. But as for your idea about potentially putting in like a piece of art, maybe that's something I can look at. Maybe we can think about that in today's episode and try and fit something like that in. I think that would actually bring a little bit of beauty to the zoo. And then your last point was, is it possible to write the names of all participating community members at the supporters club wall? Sounds selfish, I know, but it would be a great way to encourage everyone to bring in his or her ideas and fit the Jamii concept quite well. Love your stuff, NC. that last part is a fantastic idea. It really, really is. When I thought about the conservation club, I never really thought about it, like that. I kind of just was going to do this little wall. It was going to be like, an umbrella there and a stand, and, it'd be a place where people could go up and they could sign up and join the conservation club and sort of get perks. It'd be their way to support the animals and that sort of thing. But that is a really, really cool idea. I really, really love that. And I think that what's nice about that is we can do one here, but we could scatter them all over the zoo as the zoo gets bigger as well. I really, really like that, because I'm sure as the series goes along, more and more of you are going to contribute to the series, and it would be lovely to have your names in the zoo. So just leave that with me. I'm going to come up with an idea, and I'm going to put that in, one of the build parts of today's episode, and we're going to make that a thing. We're going to make that part of the zoo, because I absolutely love that comment. He did go on to add a piece about his friend with the surname Makaza. I haven't included it in his comment, but he said he's going to let him know. He's actually not into gaming, but I think he doesn't know what his name means. And then I think we've got one more comment, ladies and gents, to bring to you, and it's actually a new viewer and a new comment. So I am going to read this guy's comment out, and it comes from John McLaughlin, and he says, I think the construction of a research/breeding centre would be nice. This also means hiring a vet. Now, as for the vet, I've already kind of done that. I did it at the beginning today, because I realised we didn't have one, and we need one. So I should have done that way back in episode 1. So I hope you guys don't mind me doing that, but I think a vet's really important. But John had already mentioned it anyway, so we would have done that regardless. I'm not sure if Animal Planet is a channel in the UK, but there's a sort of reality show on it called The Zoo, which is a behind-the-scenes look at how zoos operate. In a recent episode, the Bronx Zoo moved their crocs off exhibit in a pool during the hibernation months to increase breeding chances. Something like that here may work, as it heightens the realism. Gharials were a great choice for a start, because I'm pretty sure have multiple offspring, which will help the zoo gain more conservation points if the offspring were to be released into the wild. So that's great to see that, John's already thinking about the long term. If we raise some offspring, we can release them into wild, to raise some conservation points. And also, I really do like the idea of a research and breeding centre. It's been added to the list of things to do. Obviously, there are things that are in front of it, but, I'm sure when the space becomes available, we'll be able to build a facility like that, and I really like that sort of idea. And I've already kind of got an idea of how to build sort of like the pools and stuff for the animals. I think that would be an indoor facility, because obviously they're going off to hibernate. You wouldn't want them outdoors in the colder months and stuff. So yeah, I really, really like that idea. I think that could be a real great addition to the conservation park eventually. And that, ladies and gents, kind of brings all of your fantastic comments and feedback to an end. So what we need to do now is I am just gonna, by the magic of editing, skip this forward to the date that we need it to be at, and then we will be back, ladies and gentlemen, ready for us to talk about what we're going to do with the build section of today's episode. So you are now going to see it, ladies and gents, in the blink of an eye, change. And just like that, ladies and gents, we are at the 13th of December, year 13. And basically, I need to just do a little quick tally up with you guys before I crack on with the build section, and that's why I wanted to skip forward that far. You're going to see we've got $270,000 in the bank, which is amazing. We have made so much money. The zoo is so efficient already at making that money. I just feel like you guys have been very, very clever in your use of, the facility, the animals, where you wanted to get, the conservation buckets put and all this sort of stuff. Amazing job. We've got loads of money, and that's going to come in very handy for the expansion in today's episode. You will also see we've gained some conservation points. I didn't realise that you don't just gain conservation points by trading out the animals to the wild, but you also get it for improving your zoo's reputation and having well-educated guests. So the education is definitely and clearly on point as well, ladies and gents. So what are we going to do with the build in today's episode? And I've paused it, ladies and gents, because we are ready to build. What I am going to do is I'm going to try and get all of this front area finished off, because you were saying to me last episode we need to get it all cleaned up, we need to get it all finished, and now we have the money to do so. I'm definitely going to be doing that. I'm going to sort of literally make a start on everything and try and get this front area fixed up. That will probably be build part 1, and we'll come back and take a look at that, and then build part 2, it will be this area, ladies and gents, and it is going to be the expansion. It is going to be basically the title of today's episode. It's going to be the Crocodile expansion. I am thinking potentially the Gharial expansion is obviously going to be off the back there, and then we're going to go with a crocodile, a saltwater crocodile expansion sort of over here. And I think it's going to be the best way to make this work in today's episode. So my friends, let's move forward with today's episode of our community build, and let's move in to build part 1. Okay, ladies and gents, so welcome back to build part 1, and as you can see, it is all change at the front of our wonderful conservation park. I just want to bring to your attention that you will see that the zoo has skipped forward a few days. Basically, I had to press play to make sure a few things were working. I made some changes and just needed to make sure that people could walk through there and staff could, get places and things. So I haven't tried to cheat the system. I wouldn't have got much money from like a 5-day swing anyway. But yeah, let's go over the changes that we have made to this part in build part 1 so we can move on to the exciting part, which is build part 2. So basically it was all the cleaning up and all the dirty work that needed to be done basically. I've changed this, ladies and gents, because I was kind of getting a bit sick of the guests were coming on and walking up the road. It's not realistic. They wouldn't walk up the road, would they? So literally the only way in now is across this zebra crossing that we've now put in, ladies and gents. I want it all to be as realistic as possible, and we needed to tidy up the front, so that's exactly what I've done. The road markings aren't finished because obviously I'm not an expert with road markings. I'm sure there's bits and bobs that need to be added, but I know to some extent this is pretty accurate for like European roads, especially the UK. So we've got a beautiful zebra crossing here now. I've done all the little crossing points. The car park is done. I'm going to say it's a very tight car park, but I think that's quite realistic. These smaller facilities wouldn't have the biggest car park, and it would be quite tight because they'd want to try and fit as many cars in there as possible. Got a couple of disabled bays, and then plenty of sort of like parking spaces there. There's no cars in it at the moment. I do have a blueprint for some cars, but I will let you guys be the ones to decide whether or not we place them in to make it look even more realistic, because there are a lot of pieces, there are quite a bit of money, but I'll let you guys make the decision. So yeah, we've done all some like nice decorating out the front as well, some nice trees and bushes and stuff, made these nice planters. We've put a proper exit in now, so once you're out, you can't get back in, and there's no way of getting in this way either, so that is quite nice. We've put a nice gate on the back for the staff area, so people can't just wander into the back of the conservation park now. The one thing I do think we need is signs. I've not put them in because you guys haven't asked for them yet, but I think direction signs and that sort of thing would be quite nice in the zoo. Just a suggestion for you guys, maybe something to think about. So yeah, the car park's all done, all the walls are done. As you can see, we've done all this nice sort of like raised planting and stuff, which is really nice. Like I say, this is all done. We've done all these crossing points, and we've done like a loading bay out the back here as well. I would imagine we probably need a fence across here because people can just walk off the street up here, and I think maybe we need something like that. But the reason why I've left it is I thought that this might potentially be a security point, so we'd need a building here. So that's one of the reasons why I've left it, because we can't expand into this yet. So I don't know. Obviously, I can only go as far as you guys want, and you just said tidy up the front, and I could have gone even crazier than I have, but I want to leave it open for you guys. So as you can see, there's another gate there so that the guests can't get into that area. Now, as for, the sort of opening plaza area, you will see that we've finally finished it all off. We've got all our fencing in now, and I've just made these like little custom gates. I haven't gone too crazy because at the end of the day, I feel like when the zoo expands, you guys are going to ask for a bigger entrance, and some of this is going to get deleted. So I haven't gone too crazy just yet, but I do think these look really, really nice. They work really, really well for this opening sort of like plaza area. As you can see, the ticket office is absolutely booming, ladies and gents. Now, there have been some changes here, as you can see. So as we come in, someone asked for sort of like a sculpture, didn't they? And I felt like something that would really, really fit this project well would be a sculpture of Toby. And that's what I've done. We've got a little tortoise sculpture here, and this is going to be, basically a big version of Toby in the zoo. And so he's been placed in there in front of the flower beds. This is sort of like one of those areas where the kids would come in and they'd climb on him and have their picture taken and that sort of thing. So that's quite nice. As you can see, the playground is in, ladies and gents. I think it's quite a nice playground. Put a little sandpit in as well. I've used the toys of the animals as sort of like toys for the kids. It actually works quite well. So yeah, there we go. That playground's in. That's looking really, really nice. Looking really, really cool. I think the biggest bit that you're all going to love is the conservation club. These are the people that are on the wall so far. I'm sure there are people that I have forgotten to this point, but if you keep getting your comments in, this can be expanded. More names can be put on the wall, but this is the general idea and the general way that I wanted to do it. Now, Natterjack and Primal have gaming in their names, but I hope you guys don't mind. I left the gaming off because he just would have taken up way too much room. So we've got Jer the Nater, who was basically the guy that came up with the story of the zoo. We've got Nightclive, who is an avid commenter and has had some really good ideas. Bryn Jones has had some fantastic ideas. Natterjack was the one that came up with the story of the saltwater croc, so he had to go on the wall for me, and Primal Gaming has been a constant since the series began. And so yeah, this is the wall, the conservation club. As you can see, this is where you kind of sign up. This is where you would pay to support the animals and join the conservation club. And yeah, it's just a nice little idea, that, and I think it really fits in nicely here. It breaks up this area really, really well. As you can see, you come around the back and there's seats for people to take a pew and take a little time to chill out. I have started the shop. I started it, but my creative juices were not flowing when I was making this. So if you could expand on what you would like to see in here, that would be really, really great. I've added, these little menu things. I don't think we're going to be able to get any seats in here because of how busy it is. I would actually like it to be quite open plan and just the seating area to be outside. But that's, is entirely up to you. So, the shop is getting there, but do feel free to, send in some more ideas. But this is kind of what I've come up with to this point. As you can see, it is absolutely chocker in there. And then we come around the corner, ladies and gents. As you can see, I've changed this little bit here. We've really, finished this off. We started putting the path in ready to go, up into the expansion. We've got proper doors on the toilets now, so we know whose is the men's and whose is the ladies. And then, yeah, you come up here and we're ready to expand. A nice little, fence here. This is, to keep the guests out from the staff areas. And we've started, detailing up all the back areas as well, putting some bins in, some bikes. We've done the same over here as well. We started putting in some nice concrete on the floor to really sort of cover up those ugly, path, those staff paths. We put some bins in here and some rubbish and a nice little shed where they would keep all of their stuff, some wheelbarrows. We've also started doing all the aircon units to really add some detail where that's concerned, and we've got them internally as well, ladies and gents. I believe, yes, we have got them internally as well, so you see the aircon units are on the ceiling in places. And yeah, as far as inside here is concerned, we can have a look inside here before we move on. We've started sort of adding bits. We've added a little glass piece here near the water bowl so that the little kiddies who can't see over the top can have a look through the glass. I thought that might be an idea. But a little exit sign above the door. We have also added, I don't know if that bench was there. I might have added that bench. We've added the top to Toby's wall to really finish that off. I've got an idea of what I want to do with this, but really it depends on if you guys like it or not, and if you would want it. But basically, I want to edit this one to make it look as though it is just this tortoise here, and we could have Toby's story and just kind of make a custom board so people could read about Toby, because obviously he is the reason why this place began, kind of thing. And then you work your way around, and you will see that we've put another door in here because I put another piece of staff path because I thought it would be a good thing to have another way into this facility. And yeah, just really I've just been trying to finish this off, but there's still work to be done in there, but the majority of the work, as you can see, has been done on the outside, and I think we can all agree that that's looking really cool now, really, really fantastic, and all those little pieces of detail really, really pay off. But my friends, we are now going to leap forward in time again, and we're going to go into build part 2. And so, ladies and gentlemen, here we are, build part 2. And you're probably looking and thinking, where are we? Is this Jurassic Park? No, this is the Crocodile expansion. Now, you're going to see the timer skip forward again a little bit. I had to make sure that the animals could use the doorways and stuff, so I have to press play to make that happen. But yes, this is it, ladies and gents. This is what I've come up with for the Crocodile expansion. I really hope you guys like it. I have left some bits undone, and unfinished because obviously you guys are just giving me the ideas, and I don't want to go overboard and take control of the project, because it is not for me to take control of. This is completely on you. But yeah, this is what we've come up with. Now basically I'm going to take you on a proper tour of it. I'm going to treat you as if you're a guest. So this is the new area. You would walk up here, and the first bit you kind of met with is like a little plaza area. Now I do think this probably needs something in here. We've got some open space there. We've got a staff gate there, so nothing can go in front of this. But this little area here probably needs something. And then we've got a little bit here as well. But we got some nice seating and whatever, and then you walk round and you're met with the two brand new outdoor exhibits for the crocodiles. Now on your left hand side is going to be the outdoor of the gharial expansion, and this is basically what I come up with. Now I was doing a lot of reading online, I was doing a lot of research, and because the gharials have got such a big indoor enclosure, if they were to get an outdoor area like this, the majority of it would be their pool, their area to swim in. And also you might be looking at the colour. Now Australia Zoo actually use a very unique colour for their pools to make it look more like sand, and I really like that idea because it just looks a bit more natural. So I essentially tried to recreate it myself, and I feel like I did a pretty good job. I do like what I've managed to achieve. We've also managed to disguise the staff door in a way that I see a zoo in this country do it, and I've done it on both exhibits, and I think it works quite nicely. But as you can see, we've got all the education stuff already in place with the gharials, a nice interactive sort of educational board in place. And then when you really take a good look at this, you really deep dive into it, you'll see that it's not just a pool. This is the way they obviously get in. This is a shallow section, but the planting is all done professionally. It's not just thrown in there. We've got these rock plant pots essentially. This is like fake rock essentially. You could look at it and they're all planted up in there. We've got rocks at the back. Again, we've got the rock here, and this disguises the door, ladies and gents, so that when you're standing over here looking at the animal, you can't really see the doorway. It's kind of disguised. And then over this side, we've got more planting and more planting here. And then at the back, we've gone with go away green sort of fence panels. Now, the ones that are a lighter shade were the ones I did first. And because of the plants, I can't bloody change the colour. But I actually don't think it looks too bad. I think it is okay. I think we can get away with it. But if you don't like it, I can change the colour to the darker green. But yeah, we went that go away green there because that's kind of a thing to do. Now I know for full well you guys are going to ask me to do the same with the building, but I haven't done it because it's not something you guys have asked for. But yeah, that's the gharial expansion. I really like that one. And then obviously you've got the double fence, because that stops people from throwing rubbish in and jumping over and that sort of stuff, because it is quite close to the path. And then we come the other side, and this is the saltwater exhibit. Now some of you might be looking at that and thinking, oh, it's not really that big for a salty. It's probably not, but you have to remember we don't have the most space in the facility, and this is kind of like our way of making do essentially. Now the pool is a lot bigger, the land area is outside. We do have a small indoor facility, but from what I was reading, the animals don't really get locked away, so to speak, at night anyway. They're an apex predator, and let's be honest, who's going to jump in a croc exhibit and try and nick one? You're probably going to get eaten, mate. So they do pretty much stay outside majority of the time. They just obviously get brought indoors and stuff like when they hibernate, and we've already kind of covered that we need sort of like a centre for that sort of thing in the zoo. But again, I've just done it very much like the gharial one, these lovely sort of rocked areas. If you're worried about me using palms and stuff in sort of temperate climates, some palms will grow, so I think the ones that I've used we can get away with. I just think they're a bit more lush and a bit prettier looking. More planted area over here. We've got a bit that's indoor in the water as well, so that it's getting nice and wet. A little rocked area just to kind of stop the crocs from getting to these fences. We don't mind if they go towards the back of the exhibit, because that's all their home, but we don't want them getting to guest facing fence panels, so that's why we've done all of this sort of rock work and stuff like that. And then you'll see they've got a little scratch board which is hidden. You can't really see it if you're a guest, which is, something that they try and do. This one is on show though, because that's a feeding one, and obviously if we were ever to do sort of like feeding shows and educate the guests and stuff, they can all stand here and watch the animal eat and things like that. I've really tried to think of the bigger picture where this is concerned, and then as you can see, we've disguised the doorway again in a very similar fashion. And the staff area, ladies and gents, there's 2 staff gates here, so basically you'll see the little green thing. I kind of imagine that there would be like a swipe card system to swipe in and out, but they'd go in through the gate, and then they go all the way up here and they come to the facility, they walk in, and then that's how they would go into the exhibit. And then I've put a little food thing in here. I don't really want to do this. I feel like the food centres and the kitchens wouldn't be right on top of the exhibits. I think that they would be in an area of this on their self, but for now we kind of have to do it. We're kind of left with no choice because of the amount of space that we've got. But there's the kitchen there, and then this is sort of like the shelter for the animal as and when they kind of need it, and this is the doorway for the keeper to get in, and as you can see, he would come round here, and that's how he would sort of like greet the guests. And that's what I come up with, ladies and gents. I really hope you like it. Obviously this is based off your ideas, it's based off the animals that you wanted to see, and I think the expansion looks very pretty. But we're now going to move on, ladies and gents, to the last piece of today's episode, and that is of course the staff and animals section. So let's get to it. Okay, my friends, so here we are. We are back in the zoo, and we're going to try and do the staff and animal section of today's episode relatively quickly, if you don't mind, because it's going to be a very long episode, this, because there was so much going on. Now, the first thing we do need to do is we go to the animal trading. We have our saltwater croc. Now, currently, she's been given the name Jane Doe. Basically, for those that don't know, that's the name that's given to someone who isn't, who is sort of unknown. You don't know the name. If it's a man, and it's John Doe. So that's why I've done that. So we need to get Jane and place her in her exhibit, and she will be transported very shortly, ladies and gents, into that. Now, what I want to do before we really crack on with the staff and the animals is I want to let you know of a few issues that the conservation park is currently facing. The first one is that guests think that the park is underpriced, so do think about that, ladies and gents. The second one is that we only have one cleaner, and park cleanliness is something that is being triggered. Third is that we don't have a security guard, and things have been getting damaged, so you might want to think about potentially some more staff. And as you see, our cleaner run past with that crocodile in a very small box. Yes, it's very strange to me the way that the animals are transported, but it is what it is. And also, we have a lot of animals and only 2 keepers. Basically, what I'm going to do for you is show you how many animals we've got. Now, some of these animals we are actually going to get rid of in today's episode, because some of the exhibits are now overstocked, and we have to be careful about this sort of thing. But as you can see, we have all these animals. Actually, this is an easy way of doing it. We've got 11 species, 31 animals, and there's only 2 keepers looking after them. So maybe potentially some more keepers would be an idea, ladies and gents. But that's that piece done. They're the things that you really need to think about between now and next episode. So first and foremost, what we do need to do is come over here, because I'm pretty sure the saltwater croc will probably be in here now. It is. We just need to do the education boards for the saltwater crocodile, and I'm hoping that she will be coming out very shortly. There she is, our brand new addition, ladies and gents. How cool is that? This is the first time I've done a saltwater croc in one of my builds. I haven't done it in Highland Park, and that is quite cool, actually. That is actually a nice size exhibit for the salty. I actually think that's quite a nice size exhibit. We could definitely get another one in there, in my opinion. But she's going to go straight into the water. Of course she is. Absolutely loving life, isn't she? Straight in. Look at that. Beautiful to see, ladies and gents. And that is a brand new animal and a brand new enclosure for our guests to take a look at. And as you can see, the first bunch of guests are making their way in now. So now we need to move on with the other bits and bobs that we have to do in today's episode. And I think the first one that we're going to do is we're actually going to transport some animals out of the zoo, because we are massively overstocked in certain areas. We just need to take a look at this as well, thirsty. And this is what I was saying, the zookeepers are massively overworked now as a result. So let's get to the animals. So as you can see, the Alabra tortoises, the Aldabra, I've got picked up on not pronouncing that properly. Our Dabra tortoises have actually had some offspring. We can't obviously get rid of those until they grow into adults, but I think the males I will probably send off to the wild, and then this female, we'll wait and see what we do with her. We have the gear monsters have been crazy busy reproducing. So our original two are going to be the oldest two, the 7 and the 12-year-old. So I believe what we can do is what I'm going to do is send these to the wild. We don't need the money. Conservation points would be quite important right now. So let's release those guys to the wild. So we're going to get 16 conservation points for doing that, which is really cool to see. And we have released our first animals to the wild as well, ladies and gents, which is lovely to see. Now, the frogs have gone crazy, and this is what someone was saying, that the frogs get busy, very busy, very quickly. So this is the oldest one. He is the one that was born here. So we'll get rid of the 2 males, and then as far as the females are concerned, I think we'll get rid of a good chunk of them, but we might keep a couple back, because I think that might be a really good thing to do. So we will... What's that? 4? That'd be 5 we would have. So let's do that. Let's release these guys to the wild. So we're going to get 12 conservation points for those. And then I think that's it. I don't think anything else has gone crazy with its breeding. No, it hasn't. So that's it. We just needed to do that, though, because obviously lots going on. And lots of animals have been breeding. So the next piece of business we need to get to, ladies and gents, is that of a new gharial, because it was brought up that we should potentially look at getting a male gharial. So let's go to the list and let's find that species and get ourselves a boy, because then we can get our breeding program going where the gharials are concerned as well. Now, we have money, so we can actually spend money if we really need to on this animal, but it looks as though the 2 males are actually going to be conservation points. So it's a good job, isn't it, that we just got rid of some animals. So overall, I think this guy is probably the best one to go with. Yes, he's a slightly older animal, but they live a long time. So let's adopt him and let's place the new gharial in the exhibit, ladies and gentlemen. So that's nice. We will wait and see that happen. There was something else I need to do. Yes, it was this. I need to hike up these prices in here. So what I am going to do is I'm just basically going to do what that person said, and I'm going to just hike these all up by $1. It's going to be. I'm just going to throw this out there. That's an expensive cup of coffee right there, isn't it, ladies and gents? Very expensive. But why are we not surprised? In a zoo would be charging those sorts of prices for this sort of thing. Here we go. Just hike all them prices up. That's nice. And then we need to do the same for the burger joint. And I am going to bring something to your attention in a moment, because I didn't know this was a thing. I've literally just seen this myself, because I don't look at this sort of stuff. I place these buildings in and then take no notice. But you can actually add condiments. It raises the cost up of how much it costs each month. It takes like a bit of the profit off, but you can actually add condiments, and over here you can add like milk, sugar, that sort of stuff. So do feel free to let me know if you think that sort of thing needs to be added. But I think that's it. I think that's all we really need to be sort of doing and getting on with in today's episode. But I do just want to see if the male gharial has made his way in here yet. Yes, he has. He is huge. He is absolutely massive compared to the females, isn't he, ladies and gents? So basically, what I've realised is I need to try and place some stuff out here to draw them out. I've put a little blood thing in, I've put a water thing in, but yeah, I might need to move like maybe one of the food tray items to really pull them outside, because it's going to be very difficult, because they're just so used to being in here and it's a long way to go. And if they've got a big pond as well, they don't really have any reason to go outside. But we will work on that. I'll try and work it out so that we can get them to go outside. But yeah, it's all really coming along nicely, and it really is. I'm absolutely loving this project. I'm loving the ideas you guys are bringing to the project as well. And I think that the Crocodile expansion really come along quite nicely as well, ladies and gents. I think you did an amazing job, a real amazing job. So I mean, what we're going to do is we're going to do all the little bits and bobs while we just take a look at our new saltwater croc. I think that is the best thing to do. So we're going to have our usual polls, ladies and gentlemen, in today's episode. We don't really have anything to vote on, but what I will say is get your name suggestions for this beautiful lady in the comment section below. It'd be really lovely to hear what you guys would like Jane Doe to be called. And then the next one, my friends, you're going to see above a poll, and this poll is for the should we move forward 10 years. As you can see, we're pretty healthy where the bank balance is concerned. We're earning a nice chunk of money, we're earning conservation points, but we are a little strapped for space, so do keep that in mind. But yeah, the poll's there, and just vote yes or no for moving forward 10 years. Now, as always, I will swing this around so that, you know, North is at the top of the screen. You need to be given your square choices. Now, you're going to get given a lot more choices now in today's episode because obviously this piece has been unlocked. So you're going to have square 1, square 2, square 3, square 4, square 5, square 6, square 7, square 8, square 9, and square 10. They are all yours to choose from, ladies and gents, if you are one of the people that votes yes to move forward 10 years. Of course, if we don't move forward, then we don't need to do it. But I actually feel like the project is at a point where we're really going to get going now, and it's going to get really interesting. And I am just going to throw it out there as well that from a bird's eye view, doesn't that look cool? It looks really cool. But yeah, my friends, we are just going to sign out on today's episode now. So as always, my friends, there's going to be a comment pinned to the top of today's video. Basically, it's the things that you need to do, the things you need to look at. Make sure you vote on all the polls, and make sure you keep getting your suggestions in on what we should be putting in all of the new squares. I am just going to go through some of the ideas that we've still got left to do. The wolf habitat, the research and breeding centre are sort of like 2 on the list that need to be done. And also that way back in the first episode, you know, when we were deciding where the narrative was going to begin, we do have sort of like 3 big entrance ideas when the zoo expands, and we also have a flamingo habitat that someone mentioned as well. So yes, my friends, we are done and dusted on today's episode. If you're new to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It's the best way to support the channel and to support this series as well. Hit the like if you've enjoyed it, hit the bell notification button to never miss an episode. You'll find my Discord and all of my socials in the description box below. And also, my friends, I should have really said this at the beginning of the episode because nobody waits this long to find this sort of thing out, but the grid system is now on the workshop. So if you want to use this grid system the way that I have, you will find it linked in the description box below. Feel free to go and download that from the workshop, and then take the rules from the introductory episode to be able to play along yourself. Do enjoy that, my friends. But I'm done and dusted. Until next time, you make sure you're staying extra, and I'll see you real soon.